May I come in, sirs? Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
All right. Your name is quite a unique one. What does it actually mean?
My name means spirituous. Okay, so it's a name that my mom and dad, well, they got out my kundali, and then the priest suggested that a letter R looks auspicious for you. So they were searching for names, and then they found this one. They were like, Rulon. It has a nice ring to it. Then they saw the meaning spirituous, and they're like, yeah, let's name him that.
Do you believe in spirituality?
To a certain extent, yes, I do.
All right. So, Runan, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, about myself, sir, I come from a very privileged background. My family is well-to-do, and I've never had to really struggle as much as other people do for daily subsistence. I've always had everything handed down to me, but I was taught the value of the things that were handed down to me. And even though everything was sunshine and rainbows in my house, I realized that around me that was not the case. It was a wild world out there, and I did realize that this world, it's even though I am protected, the people around me aren't. And I wanted to find ways to, help them out. And that curiosity or that desire to help other people has made me a very empathetic individual. Also, most of the time, when even before, like people tell me that they're going through something or it's not really sunshine and rainbows in their life, I am able to figure it out. And that has developed me as a person. I try to be as empathetic as I can and as patient as I can, even though life is against me to a certain extent.
So, Runan, why do you think this program will help you help others? Don't you think a social work or a BA in social work kind of a program could help you work on the social aspects more?
That's the thing, sir. One thing I realized, out of curiosity, when I used to research, when I used to like think about issues and research on issues, is that economics is interconnected with everything. So under the surface, there are a lot of factors at work, and economics, most of the time, is one of the major factors at work, which is I want to learn more about it so that I can understand how it actually works. And then we can tackle the problem at the roots itself.
Okay. Can you tell me a few economic indicators or metrics which help us identify this inequality?
A very good economic metric, I would say, is GDP, and then you have GDP per capita. So India as an economy, fourth largest economy in the world, according to GDP. But when we take a look at the GDP per capita, that is GDP for every individual in India, we are not really at a very good position, I would say, according to me. GDP is like the entire growth. It includes the richest as well as the poorest of the people. GDP per capita, however, it includes all of the people and to what extent the people as a whole are earning, or like individuals, how much they are earning, and not just the rich people. Because the GDP, well, the GDP contains, it's an allegation, amalgamation of the rich and the poor. But the GDP per capita, it includes the rich as well as the poor, but to what extent do they earn and how much inequality is there?
I agree, but how does that reflect inequality?
Because a person, suppose there's a millionaire, he earns what in crores every month. But when you look at a GDP per capita, maybe it's just around 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees for him. But in reality, he's earning in crores. In the GDP, those crores are reflected. In the GDP per capita, when we look at him individually, he's earning a lot, but in the statistics, it is not reflected.
So just let me give you an example. So, for example, there's an economy where someone earns, everyone, there are 1,000 people and everyone earns a lakh rupees. And there's another economy where some people earn 1,000 and some people earn 1,000,000. So, what basically the total GDP can be the same, the number of people can be the same, the per capita income would be the same. So, how do you differentiate?
We would like to, we will have to look at the personal income statements to differentiate properly.
Do you know any such economic metric which measures this?
Probably the wealth index or human inequality index.
Okay, taking forward what Akshay sir gave the example, okay, both the example that he mentioned, okay, which example is better for an economy?
A balanced economy.
Everyone is earning the same amount, or there is a disparity?
Can I have a minute to think about it? So what I personally believe is even if you start with a balanced economy where everybody earns the same, after if left to itself without any interference, I think the economy will shift towards a more imbalanced one where one person is earning more and the others are earning less. That is what I believe. And
ठीक है. Let me give one more example, question. What if, the Indian government give 10 lakh rupees to every household?
I don't think it would.
Will it work?
It won't work because when everybody has the same amount of money, there's an increment. Everybody has more purchasing power, and when everybody has more purchasing power, it's not really going to affect. Like if suppose this glass, it costs 200 rupees. Thanks to the market circumstances, when everybody gets 10 lakh rupees, their purchasing power will increase. So they will be willing to pay more. But since everybody is able to pay more, the price of the glass will increase, but the demand won't change because everybody can pay for that. Suppose it changes to 500 rupees. Everybody will be willing to pay and able to pay. So that effective demand for the glass remains the same, but the price has increased.
Okay.
You have written that money and growth should not be the only measures for economic success. Then what else do you think?
See, the Human Development Index, Poverty Index, Hunger Index, these should all of these
Where does
factors.
India stand in all this index?
Not in a
Do you know
very-
what is HDI rank?
Yeah, Human Development
Yeah,
Index.
what is the India's rank? Where does it stand?
It's around 120 something. The last I checked, I don't remember the exact number. So
Okay. So what is better, a GDP or HDI?
for a developed country, a country which already has a stable economy and a stable means of production of income, I think a Human Development Index will be a better measure of economic growth and development, or rather growth and development as a whole. For a developing country like India, we should adopt to a certain extent GDP, but it should not be growth. Growth for the sake of growth is the mentality of the cancer cell. So we need a direction where we are going with the growth, a direction in which all humans, every individual of the country, every citizen of the country has these equal rights. So growth, yes, but Human Development Index should also be considered to a very large extent.
Okay. The another example, I think your project where you worked, at IIM Ranchi, you mentioned that you had interacted with the villagers, right, of Loha Jimi. You mentioned that the villagers there, they did not want any money or they did not had any possession for material and everything. So don't you think that is against the law of demand? I mean, it's not following the demand theory.
Okay. Yes. So there are exceptions to everything, and this is a very rare case, a very rare exception to the law of demand. The villagers there, their mentality is very different, significantly different to that of the city. So here in the city, we're always chasing wealth. We're chasing maybe a bigger flat, a better car, a better job, more expensive clothes, better food. In the village, they are not exposed to this competition for like better things. They're okay with what they have. So they have when I visited the village, they have these small huts with not like typical huts made out of concrete, but smaller houses, and the roofs, they are made of hay and a mixture of, I think, cow dung and I think they use mud. I'm not very sure, but yeah. And they are content. They have their own community. They have their source of income. They're able to get by. Everybody owns a vehicle in the house, a small two-wheeler or a bike. and they're okay with it. The only demand that they have, which I remember, is for a better school, because the school was a little rundown. The ground was, uneven, and the facility, there was a huge classroom, and classes 1 through 5 used to study in that same classroom. So they want a bigger school, a better school for their children. That is all.
Okay, can you give me an example of some goods or any phenomena where the price increases but the demand remains the same? Ideally, it should not be, right? The price increases, demand should fall, right? So, can you give me an example where price increases but demand is not decreasing significantly or it is remaining stable?
A very good example would be probably rare goods, especially or rare earth metals like gold, diamond. Even though the price has been increasing like constantly, the demand it's not falling.
I mean, with the recent example where the price of gold has increased so much, there are news that people are not purchasing gold as of now.
But if the price of demand, if the demand of gold was not too high, like the demand was not high, then the price would not increase that much.
Is the gold price directly related to the demand, or there are some other factors which is also governing the prices of gold?
The supply of gold is also a significant factor, and its value in like the innate value that gold possesses, that is a major factor. The nature of gold itself as a rare earth metal.
What if all countries, they start mining and they find more golds? What would happen?
Eventually, the value would decrease, because when everybody has something, the value decreases eventually.
Okay. So will it affect the economy?
Considering our economy is mostly run on currencies that are backed by the US dollar, which is in turn backed by gold, there would be significant fluctuations because the value will fall.
Okay, you mentioned that you are very curious and you have asked 2 questions. Can you tell me why LPG is transported in cylinders and not cubes?
Okay, it's a scientific concept that circles or cylindrical shapes are better at distributing pressure instead of cubes. So when you have this glass, the pressure is evenly distributed because there are no concrete points. If it was a rectangle, the pressure would be concentrated towards the meeting points of the two sides. And since the pressure is evenly distributed, there is lower risk of explosion or rupture, which is why for liquids, even gases, a circular design, a cylindrical design is preferred.
So in that case, everything should be, in cylindrical or circular. I mean, that we shouldn't have a cubical box or.
But it comes to the capacity of the gas. Like now LPG, liquefied petroleum gas, it exerts a lot of pressure, which is precisely why it is in metal cylinders. It could have been in plastic cylinders, but it's not, because that is it is unique to every element, I think, or every material that is being transported.
Also, what is the advantage of cubical design, or
Advantage of cubical design would be space saving, because a circle, I mean, there's this space that is not used when we're transporting. Cubes will fit perfectly in place, so there is no loss of space.
All right. Okay. Have you gone through the curriculum at IIM Bangalore?
Yes, I did go through it.
Can you name any 3 subjects that would be covered in your
We have first year. Okay.
or any 3 subjects?
I noticed calculus, I noticed machine learning, I noticed human behavior and political relations, international relations, sorry. And the major subjects of econometrics, macro.
Econometrics.
Econometrics.
What is econometrics?
It is integration of economics with mathematics, the way I see it. I mean, I don't know about it in depth, but in a nutshell, idea that I have of econometrics is we use models and we use mathematics and data and predictions to predict economic outcomes to a certain extent.
To predict economic outcome, or
rather how, what behavior we can observe, or like an estimate or a raw idea of what ramification an action will have.
I think you are trying to guess. Not sure about what exactly is econometrics.
Yeah, I have in a nutshell kind
More
of
or
idea.
less you are there, but not exactly. Yeah, ठीक है. Can you explain the very basics of economics? What is demand and supply?
Okay, demand and supply. It is based on.
Explain the law, demand supply law.
Okay,
Law.
should that work? With relation to price or as individual?
As you want to, whatever you want.
Okay. Let's say, let's take an example of this glass itself. It's made out of crystal, let's say, and crystal is very valuable. Now the thing is, there is only one glass, but 10 people want it. So these 10 people will start competing. No, I will pay more. One person says 100, another says 200, another says 300. Now me, being a producer, the supplier, I want the highest price. So if a person is giving me 300 and if another person is giving me 100, I will sell it to the person who's giving me 300. So that's the thing, like supply is low, but demand is high, which is why the price shoots up. In a similar way, let's say there are 10 glasses, okay, and only one person is willing to buy them. So now me being a supplier, I can't argue with him because I don't have a lot of options. He'll be like, no, I'm only going to pay you 100. I have no option. I have to sell it to him, or I risk, like not selling, not making a profit on my investment. So I sell it to him for 100. Now supply is high, but demand is low, which is why the price drops down.
So, do you want to say that demand and supply are inversely proportional?
Demand and supply are inversely proportional. They're not inversely proportional to each other. Demand is inversely proportional to price and supply is directly proportional to price.
So, they are not related to each other directly.
Well, not directly. They affect price in a certain way. But supply and demand themselves having a relationship? No, I don't think so.
Okay, can you explain me what is the concept of marginal utility?
Marginal utility is definition of marginal utility is the utility added by consuming every new or extra unit of the commodity. So marginal utility, a good way to explain it would be like how much utility every sip of water is going to give me. When I drink one sip, suppose I experience, it can't be measured in terms of numbers, but for convenience, let's say I experience 10 units of utility. After drinking one sip of water, when I drink the second sip, I experience, let's say, 8 units. So this 8 extra units that I have received, 8 extra units of utility from taking another sip, that is marginal utility.
So, you want to say that more you consume, the utility will keep on decreasing?
Yes. Because if I'm thirsty, I take one sip, like, okay, it's good. I'm feeling.
Is it always true?
It is true. Most of the times, there are certain exceptions.
Like?
Let's say a hobby. I mean, you can never get tired of.
Apart from hobby, any goods or something that you can?
Not specifically in goods, but it is also noticed in money. As a commodity, if we consider money, everybody wants more money. Again, there are exceptions to that as well, as we saw in the Loha Jimi village, that they don't want more money. When we say money as an exception, when I say money as an exception, I mean generally the majority of public. So majority wants more money, but there will always be a minority, an exception, who won't.
There are, like, I have heard that, they're saying that when you are when you're high on, you need more, the utility keeps on increasing.
That is an exception to the law, yes.
Okay, and what are those goods called as? As a word in economics.
Is any specific term for that?
Giffen's, no, but that is an exception to demand, not.
Okay, fine.
Giffen's good could be, no, but that is, no,
Okay, fine.
it's not
Let's
interrelated.
move on.
Yes.
All right. What do you mean by price elasticity of demand?
Price elasticity of demand is the extent to which demand changes with changes in price. So the way demand reacts to change in price is price elasticity of demand.
So does petrol follow that, or is basically how elastic is petrol as a product or commodity?
I think it would be relatively inelastic because it is necessary and we need it on a daily basis for our cars or for a generator maybe or for the bikes. So I would say it is relatively inelastic.
Okay. And what about long term?
Long term, it is elastic. It keeps fluctuating. considering how OPEC countries decide to supply oil, or how US decides to supply oil or control the supply of oil. Even with the recent Ukraine-Russia crisis, the price of natural gas shot up. So that was because of a contingency, not an. If we continue on normal basis, then it is relatively inelastic.
What do you mean by repo rate, and what is the current repo rate of India?
So the repo rate is the rate at which the Indian government sells out, or wait, not sells out. Sorry, I'm not aware of the current repo rate. Even the concept of repo rate, I've heard of it, but I did not delve into it to that extent.
Okay. Have you heard about inflation?
Yes.
What is the key metric that the RBI follows to measure inflation in India? Or have you heard of CPI, WPI?
No, not much. No.
Okay. So one last question on economics. The price of a product is decided on the basis of usefulness of the product, or how it is exactly decided?
Well, usefulness cannot be the only factor. I mean, you have to consider the nature of the product. Is it a necessity, or is it a pleasure? Or, if it is a necessity, the price has to be a little low, because everybody needs it, and you can't really keep exorbitantly high price necessities. Like, for example, you have water. You can't price water like at 100, 200 rupees a liter. It has to be reasonable.
But that if you mentioned that if demand is high, the price will increase.
That is
So
why
demand for
regulations.
price is high, right?
No.
Demand for water is more.
Yes, but it is demand in use, value in use of water is high, which is why the demand, even though it is high, you can't really increase the price to that extent. Like, okay, how do I explain this? There are two types of values. You have value in use. So the value in use of water is high, but the value in exchange, that is the second type, is low, because it doesn't really have that much monetary value compared to a diamond, which has a high value in exchange. So if you sell a diamond, you get a lot of money, but its value in use, you can't really use a diamond. It's not necessary for your sustenance. Those two concepts come in over here when price of water is low, which is why, like, when we say that price of water is low, it is because of these two concepts.
Okay. Have you read, or are you aware about the tariff war which is going around?
Yeah, US with almost all other countries.
So what do you think? Like, US has imposed many tariffs, various different tariffs on various countries. So is it going to affect USA, or it is going to be beneficial to USA in long run?
Okay, from my personal beliefs, I think war is never a good thing. Even though this is not a literal war, but a tariff war, it is going to disrupt US and China relations, US-India relations, even US and EU relations. It is going to disrupt the relations, and when the US needs help, political help, these countries won't stand for it as they did before. Financially speaking, yes, they will earn now, but in the long run, I don't think it is going to benefit them, because they are losing market share already. And China is happily capturing that market share. So when you introduce tariffs on countries, when the US introduce tariffs on countries, those countries will not supply much to it, or rather, US even exports, they will not purchase much from the US. So there's this gap again. Now the countries want goods, but if US is not supplying, then what is their alternative? China is a very good alternative. So they will start purchasing more from China. US already in a trade war with China, this is not a beneficial situation for them.
Okay.
Any recent pacts as an outcome or a consequence, or that could affect the tariffs that you have heard recently in news, maybe today?
Yeah, the EU India, I've not delved into it again, but they are talking about a trade deal to reduce import duties, especially on vehicles and exports. I think I don't remember the exact commodities, but I remember they are trying to reduce import duties on vehicles being imported to India from the EU.
All right. Is it only on the vehicles?
That's the thing. I've heard about the vehicles. I'm not exactly sure about the other commodities.
Major free trade agreement that has been signed between India and EU. So, yeah, you could read on that.
Yes, I will.
What do you think is your biggest strength that could help you do well in your undergraduate programs?
My biggest strength. There are quite a few, but my biggest strength would probably be empathy. Yes, the ability to feel.
And has there ever been a situation where you faced major setback, and how have you overcome it, or what have you learned from it?
A major setback. Well, in recent times, no. But I did have a major setback in my school years. Um, in grade 10, uh, okay. In grade 10, we had this school debate, inter-house school debate. So it was on a school level between the houses. It was not that much of a big thing. For me, it was because it was my last year in the school, and even though I had participated in every debate since grade 5, we used to reach the finals and we used to lose by like 2-3 points. I'm sorry, not in grade 10, in grade 9. Grade 10, we won. In grade 9, again, I had participated in the debate, and every year we used to reach the finals, we used to lose by like 2-3 points, and I always hated that. In 9th grade, I really wanted to win because it was just post lockdown and my house was not doing well point wise, like score wise. So I really wanted to win. We reached the finals and we we gave it everything we had. I mean, research wise, speech wise, preparation wise, we used to stay awake till like 11, 12 in the night and just prepare for the speech, even though my mom was not talking to me for 2 days because I did that. And on the day of the debate, we spoke well, and we even rebutted almost everything. But we lost again by just 1 point. And I blame myself sometimes for that, many times, especially in that moment, because I stuttered twice in my speech. So I blamed myself for that. But I guess it healed with time. In that moment, I was feeling a lot. I was like, okay, so much effort, everything that I have given for what?
In one line, can you tell me the biggest takeaway from this event?
I think the biggest takeaway would be if you fall 7 times, get up 8.
All right.
That is
Great. All the best. I think that's all from my side.
Yeah, that's it. So I felt that your introduction was, I mean, you didn't prepare much for an introduction because it was too haywire. And there were a lot of things that you mentioned. It was just you were trying to drag. Okay, so
Yes.
your introduction should be crisp. I'm not saying that it should be very short, but maybe around 30 to 40, 45 seconds. It's perfect. And try to cover as many points as possible. Like you did not mention debate in your introduction. You did not mention your extracurricular, co-curricular activities. I don't know. It's not written in your form. It's nowhere mentioned. So I was searching if there is anything, but you did not. So you lose the opportunity to, to be questioned on those things that you have already done. And then the only option with us is either to cut down the interview time, or maybe you start asking you on economics and current affairs. Right? So you should mention, so there should be at least 4 or 5 different bucket points that I mentioned: academics, extracurricular, co-curricular, maybe about my family. Have some 4 or 5 points to give to the interview, that from those 4 or 5 points, the interviewer may ask you maybe 2 or 3 questions.
okay.
So that is the first feedback on your introduction. You need to really work on your introduction. Okay. Rehearse the introduction so that it is not getting, the moment you record it, rehearse and record it, and when you listen it, you will realize that I can definitely avoid this part in my introduction. Second most important thing, again, it happens with most of the students, that when I am asking you the question, you are talking to me. And when Akshay sir was asking the question, you are looking at Akshay sir and answering, and you are not looking at me, you are ignoring me. That is what it came out. So while, when Akshay sir is asking you a question, maybe you look at him for maybe around 60-70% of the time, but for 30-40% of the time, you should have a eye contact in between with me also, so that as a panelist, they should not feel that they are not in the conversation. Okay, so that is second feedback. Now, so you have mentioned various the names of famous personality and everything. Okay, you have mentioned Stephen Levitt, Stephen Dubner. Then you have mentioned Charles. You have mentioned Albert Einstein. Make sure that you read about them. You can have questions on them. Okay, we did not ask you because we wanted to ask you on current affairs and economics and everything. Coming to the question that I asked you about, my first question was on uh, the money is not something that it defines economic success. What else? Then you spoke about HDI and everything, various other parameter. You spoke about HDI. You spoke about various index, and you didn't knew where do India stand. So you had that rough calculation 120. It's 130th. ठीक है, 120 was, huh? Yeah. So I'm saying that 120 was a good guess, very close, not very far off. ठीक है, but I'm saying that you should be aware of, because you have written here, it doesn't define the success. Obviously, the next question is then what? So obviously, you will speak about HDI, GNH, MPI, various index. So where does India stand? And if possible, where do the neighboring countries of India stand in those index? Have a numbers in your mind. See, having the correct number always works in the favor. Okay. That is the next feedback. Then we spoke about the village, right?
Loha Jimi, yes.
You could have mentioned about the exception and demand theory. I asked you that why the demand theory is not working here. Okay, and then I think after few more questions, you gave me the example. I wanted you to give the example which economics, phenomena or which term, you should be using here. Then I asked you a question and you gave me example of the same village in some other answer.
Money situation.
Right? You mentioned that money is an example. You need more money, though you feel it is an exception. Money is an exception, right? That's what. So wherever possible, try to link every answer to an economic term. If there is a economic term for it. For example, elasticity, or for example, elasticity in demand or supply, whatever it is. Okay, diminishing marginal utility.
Yes,
I think
law
that
of
was the
DMU.
question that we discussed, and you gave the example of villages
Money,
that.
yes.
Right. So try to connect with it, because I wanted to hear that you will tell me that this is where it. And I was trying to take you there that this is what it is. Right. ठीक है. So tariff war के ऊपर I asked you a question. I think you have not read it.
I've heard about it, sir, and I did read up to a certain extent.
So see, there are few articles I have also mentioned on the group, that there are articles that we have updated on the student portal, various must read article for an IIM Bangalore candidate. So I want you to read them, because we are expecting that those questions will be asked, because those are related to economics and everything. Yeah. I think I have. Yeah, ठीक है. Moving on.
You mentioned, and you dragged a lot. So as a rule about being from a privileged background.
Yes.
So and that took up a lot of time of your introduction.
Yes.
I think that's not the only thing that defines you. Yeah. Introduction, as sir already has pointed out, that you need to mention other things also. So yeah, maybe you could mention that as a first point, but move on from that.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, mention about empathy, maybe your qualities, but yeah, achievements and other extracurricular activities need to find space. Apart from that, yes, because you mentioned upper middle class, or if review, basically, do you want to mention that? If you mention that, please have all these things, like what do you mean by India 1, 2, 3, all those type of classifications, or maybe read about all these inequalities also, because you mentioned about it quite a lot of time here and there.
each and year.
And whatever are the happiness index and all those things,
Now,
read on that, because you mentioned about Germany, Denmark, etc. So you weren't able to answer the difference between GDP, per capita
And
GDP,
yes.
and all those things. So per capita GDP is just a measure of how much per person is earning. But we also need to understand inequality, or disparity rather. So how do you measure that, or what metric or what index kind of covers that? Maybe that could be a little something that you can check. You have a few days left, so I think a brush up on that, at least, if not very in depth, because that's not expected that you know everything in depth, but at least a few key numbers could be something that you could check.
So one more feedback from my end is that you should try and read everything which you have written. For example, you have mentioned behavioral economics, and you have mentioned, in your answer you mentioned econometrics, and I asked you what is your understanding of econometrics, and I think you didn't have a fair bit of idea what exactly econometrics is. You tried to answer, you were there more or less, I would say 80%, but still, the basic difference between an economics and what would an economist do and what would an econometrician do, you lag there. So I think everything that you have written in your SOP and in your interest area, read about everything. You should be well versed with everything.
Yes, no doubt.
Apart from that, the positive point, your communication is quite good. So
Thank you, sir.
speak really well. So I think whenever you wish to convey something, you are able to structure or kind of articulate your thoughts well. So that's, I think, and probably that validates your point about the debates and everything.
And he had smile on his face throughout, so that is again a positive thing.
May I? So,
Yeah, please.
at the GDP point, I spoke GDP, and then I was like GDP per capita, and then I went blank. And I knew I had messed up over there, because GDP per capita, yes, it is not a good measure of the disparity. Then to recover from that, I went to human development, and then even over there, I got caught.
You heard something about Gini index?
Gini index.
Yeah.
No,
That's related to
can you please
inequality.
spell
GINI.
GINI? Gini index. I'm hearing about this for the
So
first.
just read on that as well.
Yeah.
It's about covering basically how less or more the disparity in countries
In income.
is.
Yes. Okay.
And a lot of other factors also. Yeah. All right.
Okay. All the best